thank you for your support of the Guru, the mantle, and your own mantle of Chelaship. I'm very gratified to be in your presence this evening, and I think from time to time a certain slice of our teachings should be on the Guru-Chela relationship, so that we have nothing to fear and every reason to embrace the wonders of the love of our gurus throughout the Great White Brotherhood. Reliance on a guru or spiritual teacher is fundamental to many spiritual traditions. This Guru-Chela relationship is especially emphasized in Tibetan Buddhism. The disciple gains the blessings of all the Buddhas when he diligently practices his guru's teachings. Tibetan Lam Dilgo Khyentse explained this principle in his book, The Wish-Fulfilling Jewel. If one sees the teacher merely as an ordinary being, then one will only receive the blessings of ordinary beings. If one sees him as an arhat, then one will receive the corresponding blessings. If one sees the teacher as a bodhisattva, one will receive the blessing of the bodhisattvas. If, however, one can see the teacher as a Buddha, then one will receive the blessings of the Buddhas. The Guru is like a wish-fulfilling jewel, granting all the qualities of realization. He is a father and mother giving their love equally to all sentient beings. He is a great river of compassion, a mountain rising above worldly concerns, unshaken by the winds of emotions. And he is a great cloud filled with rain to soothe the torments of the passions. In brief, the Guru is the equal of all the Buddhas. To make any connection with him, whether through seeing him, hearing his voice, remembering him, or being touched by his hand, will lead us toward liberation. To have full confidence in him is the sure way to progress toward enlightenment. The warmth of his wisdom and compassion will melt the ore of our being and release the gold of the Buddha nature within. I'm going to read some excerpts on the Guru-Chela relationship from the book, The Eternal Companion by Swami Prabhupada, a disciple of Swami Brahmananda. Quote, Sri Ramakrishna himself often rebuked his most intimate disciples, and Maharaj, as Swami Brahmananda was called, also used this method to train those who were near and dear to him. The chastening of a disciple never began, however, until after he had enjoyed several years of love and kind words. These experiences were painful at the time, but they were later treasured among the disciples' sweetest memories. It often happened that even while the disciple was being reproached by Maharaj, he would feel a strange undercurrent of joy. The indifference of Maharaj was the only thing we could not have borne, but Maharaj was never indifferent. The harsher his words, the more intensely we felt his interest in our welfare. The very fact that he could speak to us in this way proved that we were his children, his own. Sometimes a disciple would be reproved for quite insignificant reasons, or on grounds that seemed to him utterly unjust. But as time passed, he would realize that there had been certain tendencies and karmas stored in his subconscious mind, and that Maharaj had seen them and was working to annihilate them before they could appear and become harmful. Thus, at the cost of a little unpleasantness, the disciple would be spared years of painful struggle and self-discipline. At one time, Maharaj was disciplining me continually. All day long, he would scold me. On one occasion, I was supposed to have some stationery designed for him. I examined the proofs of the letterheads carefully before I presented several ornamental fonts to him from which to choose. When the stationery was printed, one of my brother disciples took it to Maharaj and then came back trembling. Maharaj says the S is broken. I went to Maharaj. He scolded me vehemently. Then I opened the style book and showed him that the space in the letter S to which he was objecting was really a part of the design. Nevertheless, he continued to scold me. Although he did not mention the real reason for his scolding, he somehow gave me to understand that it had nothing to do with the letterheads, the apparent cause of his rebuke. He was wiping out karmas from my subconscious mind. Swami Pravananda cites another episode. I remember the first time Maharaj ever reproved me. I had failed to do a certain errand for him because I had not understood exactly what it was he wanted. For this neglect, he scolded me throughout the afternoon. At supper time, Swami Turiyananda was seated with Maharaj and I was fanning them. The scolding continued. I remained silent. Swami Turiyananda turned to me and asked, "Do you know why Maharaj is so hard on you?" "No," I replied. "Frankly, I don't. I do not see how I am to blame." Then Swami Turiyananda said, "There are 3 classes of disciples. The 3rd class disciple merely does the Guru's bidding. The 2nd class disciple does not have to be told. He acts as soon as the thought arises in the Guru's mind. But the 1st class disciple acts even before the Guru has had time to think. Maharaj wants you all to become 1st class disciples." The mantle of the Guru. As you know, beloved Saint Germain, beloved El Morya gave me the mantle of Guru so that we might have a Guru-Chela relationship on earth. It is a wonderful thing to know one another on earth and not merely in the etheric octaves. I am always wearing the mantle of the Guru. Wherever I go, it is present with me, whether at the altar at home, in a social setting, on an airplane, or even when I am sleeping, I still wear the mantle. The mantle carries the weight of the mighty I Am Presence. That is the meaning of the Guru. It is the presence of the I Am that I am. The ascended masters use me to reach Chelas, often in the most unlikely places. I reach them with whatever they need at that moment. Sometimes it's comforting love, sometimes it's illumination, and sometimes it is the chastening fire. What is the meaning of the chastening fire? We should all know this. You should all know about me that throughout my life of being a Chela under the Ascended Masters, when I was consciously aware of it, and prior to that time, I received and continue to receive the chastening fire of the Ascended Masters and my beloved Bapu El Morya. This never ends, thank God. Thank God we may always be chastened and brought into line by the great masters whom we trust. So what is the meaning of the chastening fire? The author of Hebrews reminded the early Christians of the true meaning of chastening. He said, "Ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children, my son. Despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. If ye endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards, and not sons." Hebrews 12, 5-8. The author of Hebrews also explains, "Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby." The chastening fire from the Guru is a true gift to be received and internalized. It dissolves our human substance and replaces it with a true divine matrix so that we can reintegrate with the truth and our real self. I personally have very sadly seen many would-be Chelas fail because they either could not or would not endure chastening. What a great, great pity. I have seen this. I have been here, there, and everywhere around the world. I remember sitting on the floor before Chelas, speaking to them of the chastening, speaking to them of the great fire of God's love that purifies us, strips from us substance that we do not even know that we have. And I have had people turn me back again and again, refusing the chastening, refusing the love of God, refusing that moment when they could be transformed and truly understand what it means to be a being of light. Chastening is never given in anger, although the Chela who receives it may so translate it to be because of their own anger. Chastening is a ruby fire that purges and purifies and restores you to wholeness if you accept and internalize it. That is the key. Accept it. Let it in. Internalize it. Internalize it. Let it pass through all the organs and the systems of your body. And know that that chastening ruby fire is cleansing you. And the cleansing comes from God, your mighty I Am presence. I have observed Chelas during more than 30 years of teaching, and I have come to the conclusion that human pride, or devil pride, is always the culprit, because wherever there is human pride, there are demons that sustain that pride in the individual. It is always human pride or devil pride that takes exception to correction from the voice of Christ, no matter through whom that Christ is speaking. I have wrestled almost physically with so many people, so many Chelas who were rebellious. I remember it was in Pasadena, we had a Blu-ray quarter. All the Blu-ray people came out. It was the largest attendance we ever had. It was something like 150 students during that quarter. And in those days, I would receive Chelas one at a time or two if they were moving together. And I would give them a life reading. It was an amazing experience, but El Moria gave me a life reading for each one of those individuals. And so many of them had rebelled against God and had fallen on the first ray because they did not want to worship the living God. They wanted to be the living God. So I can remember so many different events in the lives of these 140-some people as they passed through me and as I showed them where they had been in the scenes of their lives. And I don't think very many out of that entire class actually assimilated the tremendous compassion, the tremendous love of the Guru El Moria of the First Ray. I have had people who will appear to be taking correction for a long period of time, but they are really not going through a process of transmutation or self-transcendence, deriving the benefit, putting the rest in the flame, and moving on. So down the road, they decide to get sick, they decide to quit, they decide to have a nervous breakdown. This is reality. This is what we've seen all these years. Then the sinister force starts working on them and continually brings before their eyes these scenes of having been disciplined. Ultimately, they tell you that they will no longer take the discipline. So it is always a surprise because some of the people who appear to be dealing with a discipline are really not. And what I have to decide is it worth having lame and crippled Chelas, leaving them be and not correcting them? Or should I chasten them until they finally see the light? The attitude of the Chela often determines how far the Guru can take him. I had an opportunity recently where there were many people, and I recognized someone who had been on our staff, and I hadn't seen this person for many, many years. And I knew that this person, in the years that he had been with me, was not able to take chastening. And I thought to myself, perhaps I was too hard with this person. because they were never able to process the chastening. And if I would rebuke them, they would kind of boil and simmer and be annoyed, but they would hold it in. And they would not want to show it, but in reality, they had great anger. And these are various people that I've seen. So this person came along who'd been a member of our church. And I was very happy to see this person because I hadn't seen this person since he had left staff with his family. And I always held love in my heart for this person and was happy to see him so I could greet him and so forth. And so when I greeted him, he went into a tirade of verbiage that did not stop. And it was about what terrible things I had done, how many people I owed mountains of karma to because I had been so cruel to them by disciplining them. This went on and on, his wife attempting to soothe him and very shocked regarding his behavior. So I had decided earlier in that conversation that I was going to apologize to him. And what I was going to apologize to him for was not having recognized that he really would not, could not, and did not have any intention of balancing that karma, getting through his anger, and getting beyond that anger to his victory. So this discussion became more and more intense, and finally I realized there was nothing more that I could say except the following. I said to him, called him by name, I said, I need to love you, and I'm going to love you. And then he passed on in the line, and that was the last I saw of him. So it is a wonderful gift that we can give love to those who need it, to those who rail against us, to those who don't appear to be on the path, or perhaps someday they will return to that path. Perhaps life will teach them. So I think the gift and the grace that God gives to us is that if we meet so-called self-styled enemies, I don't believe I have enemies. I always love to give love to those who are the self-styled enemies. But if they do not receive it, I still make calls for them because it concerns me. Will they make it? Will they finally come through? Will they shed this substance of their pride and their anger and finally find that attunement with their Lord and Savior? If they do not, I am concerned as to what will become of them. So the attitude of the Chela often determines how far the Guru can take him. And that is axiomatic. Do you remember Jesus' fire rebuke to Peter? He began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected of the elders and of the chief priests and scribes and be killed, and after 3 days rise again. And he spake that saying openly, and Peter took him and began to rebuke him. But when he had turned about and looked on his disciples, he rebuked Peter, saying, Get thee behind me, Satan, for thou savorest not the things that be of God, but the things that be of man. So the part of us that is the dweller on the threshold does not want to enter in to the heart of God. Jesus went all the way on his path, and we must realize that at any time he may call us to specifically walk in his footsteps. What will we find? We will find that the Son of Man, our own being, will suffer many things. Have you not all suffered, and have you not also all been glorified? To be rejected of the elders, have we not all been rejected of the elders of the churches of the world, the synagogues, the courts? We have suffered the chief priests, the scribes. We've been killed, we've risen again many times. It's interesting as we were talking about Moscow this evening, but it really is an amazing thing to go back in the memory and to realize sometime about 1918, 1920, the Tsar and his family were brutally assassinated. Among that family was myself and Mark Prophet. And what has happened today for us is that we live again. We are here to challenge the challengers who moved against us in this century. It's not so long ago. That we can go back and claim the victory and bring all the light bearers into that great reunion with God, to show them the path, to give them the science of the spoken word that liberates them. To think we could do all of this and it's still the same century where we died and were born again and have come forth, and where we can go to Moscow. Maybe many of us can go there on a trip and have a wonderful reunion with so many souls that we were a part of. And so you never know how the course of life takes you, that in such a small period of time you can go through such agonizing deaths and come back fully clothed in the resurrection flame. So Peter had that doubt. Peter had that substance. Peter didn't want his Lord to suffer. But it's like saying to this man who came through the line, I need to suffer, and I'm going to suffer for the glory of God and his kingdom, for the transmutation of the world and our Chelas. I want to tell you as I read to you now that I have such a profound love for each of you and every Chela in the world whose face I may know at inner levels, but not on earth. I want to tell you this so that you will realize that nothing that you can tell me about yourself that is not good, that's bad, that's this, then that, nothing will ever allow me to stop loving you. And I hope you will remember that as long as you live and on to many octaves of light. So Jesus rebuked Peter, and Mark Prophet would say to an out-of-alignment Chela, you're a tool of the sinister force. How would you like having that being said to you? It was said with intense fire when it was said. How many people here have been a tool of the sinister force? All of us. Any exceptions? Stand up, the exception, please. The idea is to reduce the numbers. The fire that I give people comes from the altar. It comes from the flame of the Ark of the Covenant that is suspended in the etheric octave over this very altar. Now we talk about the messenger stepping down the fire. The messenger at will can step down the fire that he delivers to a Chela so that that Chela can make it. The messenger acts then in the position of the Holy Christ Self in defense of the Chela before the I Am Presence. Under the Mosaic dispensation, without the Holy Christ Self or Guru as intermediary, the fire from the Ark of the Covenant would destroy the Chela. You remember the story of Uzzah from the Old Testament. God had said that no one but the Levites, the priestly class, could touch the Ark of the Covenant. Uzzah touched the Ark to steady it. He rationalized. The Ark might fall over. I better shore it up. So Uzzah touched the Ark to steady it. He was immediately struck down and died on the spot. Why? Because the Ark of the Covenant had so much of God's light and fire and intensity in it that all but the priests could not touch it, else they would die instantly. Under the Piscean dispensation, our Holy Christ Self mitigates the sacred fire. The mantle of the Guru stands in the place of the Holy Christ Self until the Chela has attained union with the Christ. So the Guru is the instrument of the fire of the I Am Presence, or the Ascended Master who disciplines the Chela. if you do not receive or accept the fire that God allows to come upon you, ultimately you will wed your dweller. You will become bonded to your dweller on the threshold if you do not become bonded to your guru. If you were to remain wed to your dweller, you could end up losing your soul. So when you decide to dance with your dweller, you are in very dangerous company. Now we come to the X factor in Chelaship. This is psychology. How a Chela receives chastening has to do with his or her relationship with the human mother and the human father in this and many, many past lives, not just the most recent one. Chelas who have had a difficult time with their human mother in this life, who have felt that they did not have a positive bonding with that mother or a good relationship to that mother, will oftentimes project onto me what we call in psychology the bad mother. And when you see me as the bad mother, and if I should go around wearing a card across my chest, as Socrates wore a mirror so people could see themselves in his mirror, if you should see me as the bad mother, it's a karma-making situation because you're putting upon me a very negative matrix. It takes time, but it shouldn't take too much time to reverse this and realize who our mother is. Our mother is the Blessed Mother Mary, the Blessed Kuan Yin, all the ascended Lady Masters of Heaven who comfort us, who succor us, who are bringing us to a real point, that point of the 6 o'clock line where we enter into that white fire of the mother at the base of the spine chakra. If this person that I was speaking to you about was angry and horrendously angry, maybe this person had a bad father, maybe this person had a bad mother. What they must do is turn around and create in their own mind's eye the picture of the perfect mother. If your human mother is not the picture to you in action or in a photograph, then call to God, one of the ascended masters, to come in for you as that beautiful mother, that wonderful mother, that divine mother, that world mother, the great cosmic manifestation of the mother. So if we know we have the bad mother syndrome, let's get rid of it. We have the all power of the sacred fire and the violet flame. The study of psychology is not meant to create a situation where we continually revolve our astrology, our psychology. We need to look at it, see it for what it is, and say to that bad mother, it doesn't matter what you've done to me. I am going to love you. I am going to heal you. I am going to have my victory. And one day we will be together and we will both be healed. Live life this way. Be free. You must be free. Don't think it takes 1,000,000 years to resolve your psychology. It may only take a day if you decide it. We all have an image of the bad mother and the good mother in our subconscious and unconscious. If we have had a good mother in this life, we have a very good, strong image of a good mother. We may be lucky, but sometimes God sends us very intense challenges through our parents. Maybe it's our fault. Maybe it's our karma. Maybe God wants us to be a bodhisattva. Maybe God wants us to know how it feels to be crucified as his son was crucified. Maybe you were born already prepared to take high initiations, such as the ones that Jesus and Gautama Buddha have passed. So never ask yourself why. Just accelerate. Accelerate on the path. Put these things behind you. They're not real. What is real? There's only one reality. God is real. God is real in you right now. Feel that tremendous presence, your I Am presence descending into your temple. If we have not had a good mother, then the only mother we may have known in this life is the bad mother. Most of us have a combination of the good mother and the bad mother. based on our experience with our human mother. I had various experiences with my parents in this life. I didn't think my mother was a bad mother. I adored my mother. But I didn't know anyone else. And most people who have mothers that maybe could have been a little more or a little better for us, they know that situation. But if we have a bad mother, then we are here to love that mother, and to love that mother, and to love that mother, wherever she is in the universe. Let's not call her a bad mother anymore. Let us realize that human beings are frail, very frail. They take with them centuries of European culture, Middle Eastern, Far Eastern culture. Let's get rid of the bad mother and let us visualize that beautiful mother. I remember after Mark passed on, I was looking through his effects, and one of them was a scrapbook. And apparently he had studied Unity School of Christianity. He had studied various metaphysical things. And so he had a scrapbook because he'd learned about precipitating. And in this scrapbook, he had put in it everything he wanted to have happen in his life. So he had been stationed at Colorado Springs in the Air Force during the war. And so he knew the town well, and he created a scrapbook. He put in his scrapbook the picture of a mansion where we ultimately came. He had a picture of someone, a female person that he cut out of a magazine, and put that in his scrapbook, and a host of other things that went on and on and on for pages. And when I looked at that scrapbook, I realized that everything that he had put in that scrapbook had come to pass. So he had the power of change, and so do we. We have this alchemy. We can change our bad mother into a good mother anytime, because the badness of the mother is not real. That's the bottom line. The badness of the mother is not real because evil is not real. And we say it all the time. And its appearance has no power. But inside that heart that God created, that soul that God created, there is a point of light. And even if it is a very singular point of light, and that is the only good thing you can find, you can expand that light until that good mother is the good mother. And you don't have to wrestle with it for the rest of your life. Isn't that a great unburdening tonight? You don't have to wrestle with a bad father, a bad mother, bad grandmother, bad grandfather, etc. They don't exist. The real person exists, do you understand? And that real person may have been bruised and beaten and put down. And so we learn compassion in that household. We learn to understand what it means to see a father who's an alcoholic almost every day of his life. That is something that many of you have seen, but that's not your real father. Yes, you have a father in heaven. Yes, you have a father El Moria, but you also have the original matrix of that father. And that's where you plug in the contact. And that is where you go back beyond parents who are also passed on, already passed on. And you see them in their perfectness. And what happens? It's like there's an outline on the wall. And when you put that right puzzle piece in, which is the outline of your father or your mother, all of a sudden, that human father and that human mother merges with the infinite. And only the permanent reality of the father and mother still stands, because you have been willing to let go and recognize, I and my father are one. I and my mother are one. Getting on with this concept of the good and bad mother, father. When you come closer to me through the Guru-Chela relationship, you are at the point where your human mother blends with me, and you do not necessarily distinguish between the two. So if you're hanging on to the human mother, you may put that sign across me that says human mother. So whenever I deliver the chastening, you may project onto me subconsciously what you have experienced with your human mother. This is a very sad way to waste time. It's a big time waster. Let's get beyond it. We have Saint Germain's violet flame. We don't even know what that violet flame can do. It can be a substance as hard as crystal. It can be an ethereal substance. It can be of anything that we might see in this physical universe or in universes beyond. We talk about the violet flame, but how much do we really know about the violet flame except that when we call for it, it works? But the violet flame is stupendous. It's the great cosmic eraser. You will so liberate your parents and your ancestors that you will not have karma with them if you turn out to have to come back into embodiment, which I pray none of you does, unless it is the will of God for you. So then we see the experience through the history of hurtful experiences that we have had with our human mother and our mother figures. Then you incorrectly reach the conclusion that I may be your bad mother. Since I am a guru, which is a masculine office, this projection may also happen if you have had difficulty with your father, perhaps the bad father. As you get closer to me, you may project that father onto me. You may fear me or fear what I will do to you because you cannot distinguish between me and your human father. This is why the Ascended Masters have told us again and again that we have to daily process the issues of our psychology, of our psyche. We must go after the soul that is wounded, the inner child, and the child's relationship to each parent, and then to all other authority figures, employers, teachers, and those who are over you in whatever capacity of learning or on the job. If we do not heal our personal psychology, we will be at odds with El Morya and Guru Ma. I don't want that, and I hope you don't want that, and I hope we'll all make that effort together. El Morya is the first guru we encounter when we join this organization. Some people think that it's a matter of choice, but it really isn't. This is his organization, it's his ashram, it's his place, and you can't go anywhere except to the heart of El Morya when you come here. So if we fear the father image, we may anticipate that El Morya will treat us just as the bad father treated us. It could be the indulgent father, it could be all kinds of things. So when you look at El Morya's portrait, what do you see? Do you see the love in his eyes, or do you see the sternness? Do you see that twinkle? It depends on your psychology, what you are able to see in El Morya. The same is true in your relationship to me as I bear the mantle of Guru. If you interpret your experience with the Guru from the human level, you may miss the lesson and the blessing. If you contact the mantle and your response is fear, you must be quick to affirm that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Don't personalize the fear in yourself, and don't personalize me as the cause of your fear. Instead, say to yourself, fear and doubt are really the first points of separation from God, your mighty I Am presence. When your aura bumps into my mantle, the power of that mantle flushes out your fears and your doubts, and they are as two figures standing before you, Mr. Fear and Mr. Doubt. And that's the Piscean age, 2:00 line, feared out human questioning records of death. That tells you the whole lineage of human history, doesn't it? If you hold on to Mr. Fear and Mr. Doubt, they will continue to stand between you and the Guru and your mighty I Am presence. Cast out that fear and doubt. Let your love for the Guru be perfected in God's love for you. Start by going to the Sacred Heart of Jesus, the Immaculate Heart of Mary, and call directly for the mantle of the Mother of the Flame, the mantle of the Guru. This is something you can reach. I am here, and in this physical octave, I have a tie to your heart. If you have too much substance and too much electronic belt substance, you can't even reach your Holy Christ self, because your karma is a barrier. That is why you may feel dry and empty at times. You don't know where to go, you don't know what to do, you just feel dry and empty. Mark would say you have to prime the pump. You have to keep on pumping that well until the water comes back. Prime the pump if you feel dry and empty. So God has given me a mantle so that I can reinforce your Holy Christ self until you can sustain that contact. I can also reinforce your I am presence. Until you get through that karma, the way you maintain the contact with the Holy Christ self and the I am presence is to call for that tie to be reinforced by the momentum of my life stream and your call to the Ascended Masters. The Ascended Masters will assist you, but the reason the Ascended Masters have given me the mantle is because the mantle needs to be on someone in physical embodiment who is able to reach out and touch other people who are in physical embodiment. I don't think I'm the perfect guru or the perfect person, but I'm very grateful that I passed enough tests so that God made me worthy of being able to bear this mantle for you, for me to use it in your defense. And I am your defender. We cannot be perfected as human beings. So why find fault with one another when we are imperfect? We are imperfect every day of our lives. We are in the lowly estate of the flesh, as the Bible reads. The lowly estate of the flesh. This is as low as you can get before you are an animal out in the woods. This is where we are, okay? We don't have to stay here. We do not have to stay at this rung of the ladder. So think about this for a moment. Think of ways you have criticized yourself, self-criticism, how you have criticized others, and how ridiculous the whole thing is when human beings cannot be perfect in the flesh. They are perfect in their souls, they're perfect in their spirit, they're perfect in their I am presence, and when they walk with Jesus in the Holy Christ self, they are in that moment of perfection. But until we receive our immortality, we are mortal, and we are heirs of this flesh. So you can easily say about Mother that she's imperfect, and you will be telling the truth. That's the bottom line. I hope that we don't have to think about one another as being imperfect, because it's time-consuming and we already know it. We already know we're imperfect. How many times do we have to hear about it? So let us not burden one another with our thoughts that are not high and Christly. Let us do that for Moria. It pains me to see him have to take on our burdens. How to capture the opportunity for Chela-ship. When the Chela feels the burning action of the sacred fire from the Guru, he may run both from the sacred fire and the opportunity to internalize it. In his pride or fear, he may reject the chastening. He may be blinded by his returning karma or untransmuted momentums of the past. Nobody knows how much karma they have. We have said this many times. We only know percentages, but we don't know numbers. Chelas at times screen the Guru's instruction through the lens of the human consciousness. No greater mistake can you make than to enter into that judgment, whether against your I am presence, your Guru, the Ascended Masters, the friend that is sitting next to you. Unconsciously, people relate their interaction with the Guru to their human experiences in this life, as well as to momentums of the past. Chelas need to experience a paradigm shift if they are to pass their initiations and make it all the way home to God. We can learn a great deal from Milarepa, who experienced a major paradigm shift under his Guru Marpa. That is the understatement. We carry the book Tibet's Great Yogi, Milarepa. It was edited by Evans Wentz, one of the most important books I've ever read. on Chela ship. I couldn't get over how many times Marpa made Milarepa tear down the house he was building and start it all over again. But you want to remember the tremendous love that Marpa had for Milarepa. As El Morya says in the Chela and the Path, the great yogi Milarepa endured many hardships on the path, including the unlearning of the false teachings of the Dark Ones, who imparted to him a knowledge of the manipulation of energy. Thus he had to overcome the practice of black magic and to balance the karma of his misdeeds, whereby he had wreaked vengeance upon his neighbors who had deprived him of his patrimony, first causing the death of many and then a hailstorm which destroyed their fields of barley ripe for the harvest. When he finally earned the right to be the Chela of a true master, his pride had been broken, and in humility he walked the way of attainment. It is really a very amazing teaching. I have had curses leveled at me by very powerful dark ones, fallen ones in my life. I remember this happening to me in the kitchen of our house in Red Bank. And I remember this individual, who I thought was powerful, but not all powerful, pronounce a curse against me for life. And this person had learned this black magic in the West Indies. So when he got finished pronouncing this curse against me, I walked out of the house and went to my neighbor's house and picked up the phone and called my spiritual mentor of the time, a woman who was in Christian Science. And we talked about it, and I did what I could do that I knew to do in the realm of Christian Science, which certainly does not have the power to give us that they could have had. So I gave my calls, fiats, prayers, affirmations. I didn't call them by these names I'm giving you. But I made up my mind on that day and date, on that spot, I was nullifying that curse. And that curse was not going to follow me the rest of my life. And I was very determined. I determined that. And I said to myself, Almighty God, consume this curse. And I believe that he took it. So Marpa's guru loved him too much to allow him to get off easy and miss his victory. That's how I feel about every one of you. I recommend that you read and digest the book. Its teaching will help you avoid many pitfalls of karma that you might otherwise innocently fall into. So what do you need to do if upon receiving the chastening fire you feel hurt or unfairly treated? First, if you can, remember the exact words spoken by the guru in delivering the rebuke. Think of them as a mantra or a koan to be solved. A koan is a riddle that can be solved only by intuition or by a flash of inspiration. That flash of inspiration doesn't just come from koans. It comes from the moment when you merge with your guru, or let's say an ascended master or an angel. And out of that moment of oneness, even if it is very brief, there comes this flash of inspiration. And you understand suddenly the chastening. You understand why this happened to you and that happened to you, and you don't get angry with God because God did something to you that you don't like. This flash of inspiration. So we need the riddles. We need to have to break things apart, disentangle puzzles, and all of a sudden, through the cracks comes this flash of inspiration. And then we get it. We get it. It takes time to get it. All of a sudden, oh, this is why El Morya did this for me all this time. Oh, this is why I had to go do this thing. Look what I found out I did in my last life that I now have to overcome. These flashes of inspiration are your links to your I Am Presence. What was your vibration at the moment you received correction? In other words, were you centered? Were you ready to receive correction, come what may? Or were you off-center for one reason or another? Your diet, your emotions, your fatigue levels, all kinds of other things going on. Look at your thoughts, feelings, emotions, actions, and reactions that led up to the chastening. I'll tell you what the chastening is. The chastening is the moment that comes when you have indulged yourself one time too many. That's when it happens. And all of a sudden, down comes the wrath of El Moria, down comes the energy. So we never know when we get a monumental chastening, a major chastening, or a chastening that says, watch out, you're on thin ice. Get back to center, make some calls, remember who you are, remember who you're not, and know that Christ lives in you. How were you out of alignment with your real self when you were chastened? We have to give answer to these questions. The Ascended Masters don't have to give answer. We have to answer. We're answerable before God as to how we react to the chastening. And if we don't react to it well, what happens to us? We may get bitter against God. We may feel omnipotent. We may let our anger remain over days and times when God has told us that we should not let the sun go down upon our wrath. We must never go to sleep if we have an argument, something that is against our neighbor. So all of this is our job. It's God's job and his emissary to say, halt, you're going too far, you're out of the way, you've taken the wrong road, get back on the highway, because you are going to make big karma. And I'll tell you how else you can find out when those moments come. El Moria says you should be studying astrology, at least fundamentally if you're not an astrologer. You can't walk around blindfolded in this world. You lose time when you don't know what's going on in the heavens. So you see, it's up to us to derive from all the resources we have, spiritual, material, astrology, whatever it is, psychology. We have to bring all these things together so that we can heal ourselves and make ourselves whole. Most of us know what our weak points are, but not all of us know what we can do about strengthening those weak points and balancing the threefold flame. So you ask yourself another question: how were you out of alignment with your Guru El Moria above? And when I say above, the Guru El Moria is one with your mighty I Am presence and your Guru Ma below. Review what you know about your own psychology in this life. We all know something about it. We probably all should know more about it. Ask yourself, when have I been in a similar circumstance or felt the way I am feeling now? If you've done the same thing again and again, had the same types of encounters again and again, look at yourself. Keep looking at yourself. Don't look anywhere else. Ponder what momentums you have been trying to resolve that may be close to the surface and up for transmutation. Again, that's your astrology. As you go around the clock of the year, of your birth year, your astrology, you come to the point where your astrology will tell you that there's something that's been around maybe for thousands of years, but this is the moment of the conjunction of planets when you may be close to the surface, and this substance right now, today, may be up for transmutation. So if you know the astrology of your cycles, you can really make much more rapid advance, and therefore I suggest that those who are the whizzes at astrology give us a course every couple of weeks that we can take home with and so forth. It's very important. You may miss the boat because you don't understand astrology. So what is your astrology today? How many people know what today's astrology is in their lives? Put up your hands. Quite a few, but most of you don't. So that's one thing we need to get on to. You know what we're doing? We're plugging up the holes. That's what we're doing. It's like the sinking of the Titanic. We're plugging up the holes all over this ship so it won't sink. If you leave the holes open, the ship is going to go down, and you won't have your victory. What has your astrology been for the last 6 months? What will it be for the next year and a half? You need to know. See and accept the sacred fire from El Moria and from me as a return of your personal karma, often mitigated by your own momentum of service or the intercession of the great law. In other words, God has shone his light upon you and has said to you in his heart, this is my beloved son. I want to be well pleased with this son, so let this son demonstrate to me that he can have this victory. You know, I think that people who don't want to hear about the guru and don't want to hear about the chastening, that they must be idolatrous of themselves, and therefore idolatrous of me. And you can't get anywhere being idolatrous at all. Maybe anyone who has that sense, sometimes we can't see it, like we can't see our backs. Sometimes you can't see your idolatry, but please look at it. You don't have to talk to anyone about it, but if you see it, go after it. It's like a shadow, it skips around. The sun changes in the heavens, so you're not always seeing the same side of yourself. Take it as an opportunity for soul searching as well as transmutation and transformation. So we return to the question, what is the lesson here? Self-observe and ask yourself, where is all this coming from within me? What is God trying to help me surrender? What has God been trying to tell me lifetime after lifetime after lifetime? Most of us have one or two things that we've had for so many, many, many lifetimes. And it's almost like it's the biggest blind spot we have. And it's probably the heaviest karma. I would wager that 90% of us here have something we've carried way too long. And if we really will look at it and dig it out, we'll find it. And we decide to tackle it, I think you can see yourself really grow in leaps and bounds. Keep reviewing all of the above points until you achieve understanding and the paradigm shift that reflects the lessons learned. To sum it all up, the best antidote to the Chela's resistance to the chastening of the Guru is to embrace the path of the ruby ray. That path is personal sacrifice, personal surrender, personal selflessness, and personal service. This means we give personally to others, not just impersonally. Let's take up another vein of teaching. Each of us looks at life through our own paradigms. Sometimes when Chelas hear the fiery message of the Guru, their mindset keeps them from understanding the lesson. Karma and human psychology blind and deafen the Chela. We're blinded by our karma, every one of us is. We just can't see. It's a real blind spot. Blind and deafen the Chela. We don't hear. And we don't hear because we don't listen. And if we listen, we're not listening to God, we're listening to somebody else. I always think you should have one ear to God and the other ear in your service. Not understanding the initiation, the Chela may blame his problems on somebody else and gossip about his interaction with the Guru. Gossip about a discipline or blaming the Guru is especially dangerous. I want you to know that I am not burdened for me when you gossip about me. I am burdened for you, very much burdened for you. We should just decide to cast it into the sacred fire and be gone. Let it be gone and let us move on. Gossip about or blaming the Guru shows that the Chela is angry and resentful, has not accepted the discipline, blames me. I may get a lot of anger coming my way. And the Chela's dweller is undoubtedly angry and resentful. And unfortunately, it lasts longer than 24 hours, and that results in major karma. The reason being, your soul goes out at night, it is angry. It doubles up with demons, fallen angels, others, especially if the person is vehemently out of alignment. So he doesn't have the angels to protect him. He makes a lot of karma, when in sleep, and that's why the rule has been set that we never go to sleep unless we have resolution with all those whom we've ever wronged, all who have ever wronged us, and all whom we don't even know that we have wronged throughout all lifetimes. It's a very important call to make. The Chela has neither faced his internal dilemma squarely nor taken accountability for his actions. Therefore, he has not internalized the message. Instead, he allows the dweller to speak for him through gossip, blame, criticism, condemnation, and human judgment. The dweller is like the giant in the tale of Jack and the Beanstalk. The Chela is Jack, who is trying to climb up the beanstalk, and the dweller is the giant who wants to make him lose his grip and fall to his destruction. At the moment of a discipline, the dweller embodies the anger and resentment of the Chela. If the Chela were to look more deeply, he would realize that under the anger and resentment also lie pride and fear. Commiseration usurps the role of the guru. We need to remind ourselves that perfect love casts out fear. When we are out of alignment, we cannot express perfect love. Therefore, we may commiserate with ourselves or with another Chela who has been disciplined and is seeking comfort. But this is not divine love. This is human love. The one who commiserates with the offender offers sympathy rather than compassion, which does not help anyone. Sympathy is like finding a person going down in the quicksand and you jump in to try to pull him out. You both go down. If you were to be compassionate, you would throw the person a rope or branch and pull him out of the quicksand instead of jumping in with him. I have seen the situation where Chelas have taken seriously what I have given to them. They work very hard on it. They transcend themselves. They go into even a higher consciousness to meditate and understand what is the chink in their armor. What I think we need here, in this case, is when we are chastened and given a discipline, we need to be alone. Aloneness is a wonderful time. I don't know if the little house is available behind the Blaines or whether it's for storage at this time, but we need a place like that where the person who is chastened can immediately retire to a place where no one talks to that one, and he enters into profound communion with his God and surrenders whatever it is that he is hanging on to or was burdened by. That is the way to have a victory on the path. If others come along and commiserate with you and agree with you that your punishment is unjust and that no one should ever have spoken to you that way, it just isn't proper, it isn't correct, it's not done, you don't do this. But you see, we do this. All of the gurus, all of the ascended masters do this. And so when you push through, when you finally have that breakthrough, when the sun dawns and you get up in the morning, maybe you've stayed there in your sleeping bag through the night, and when you finally get to that moment where the next day has come and the sun is brushing across your eyes and you realize and you understand, that means you have your victory and you have it all alone with El Moria. You have it with him. If you let others console you, you haven't had a victory at all. It's no victory at all to do that. You have to be alone with God in the wilderness. I always remember Elijah in the wilderness. Elijah comes along. 900 prophets of Baal come along. They have this huge big pile of wood. Elijah comes along. He's got his pile. He pours water over his wood, which is far less than the prophets of Baal. The prophets of Baal, their fire does not ignite, but Elijah's does. Elijah was alone. He took his initiation alone. It's a very important, pivotal turn in your life. Know when you have to be alone with God. When you talk to God and talk to God and talk to God and say, God, I have to know what's wrong with me. I want to know why this has come about. I want to know why people don't like me. I want to know what I'm doing wrong. I just can't see it. God, show me this. And you will find that if you put all of your heart and soul and being on the rock of Christ, on your mighty I Am presence, you will solve that koan. You will solve that enigma. And with it, you will grow. You will pass your test. This happened recently where someone decided to console someone else. And the person that received the chastening was then consoled by someone else instead of that person being allowed to do what I just said, go alone and find the power of God within you and the strength of God within you. So I explained that, and I think we should all understand it and remember it. Every one of us here has the spunk, has the determination, has the fire in us to say, I'm having a problem, I'm going to God first, and I'm going through everything that there is for me to know about God, the scriptures, and so forth. And then, if after that I can't solve it, maybe I'll get some help. But the real thing is to have your own private, personal victory. You know why? Because you're going to make your ascension one of these days. And you're going to go up through that pyramid, and there's going to be one person going through that pyramid, and that's going to be you. No one's going to hold your hand when you make your ascension. You are in a solo flight. So let's start now so that we're prepared. Call upon the mantle of the Guru to solve your problems. There is a burden upon me as the Guru when you refuse to call upon the mantle or consult me about problems that you are not solving. If you have an unsolved problem and you have it more than 24 hours, talk to a counselor, if you wish. Talk to someone who can help you, such as a therapist. Don't go around with unresolved problems. It's a very bad thing. You're multiplying your karma, and you've got plenty of karma already every day of your life that comes down upon you. Don't go around with unsolved problems. That's what the day is for. The day is for you to solve problems. Every day is a problem-solving event, right? So we have to do it. People who don't do this, don't process, even if they don't have a therapist, they can process. They know they have a problem. They can work on it. Let's do that. Let's be really white, saints robed in white. Let's know that our garments don't have all these spots in them of things we haven't resolved. We may try to solve problems in a human way and in an intellectual way. You may think you're solving problems. You may tackle the problems by decreeing. You may make an attempt to surrender. But if in the end that problem is still gnawing away at you, then you have not solved your problem. It's a serious matter. It's very serious. There comes a point in time when your non-resolution of that problem and your non-contacting of the Guru for its results is a very great burden to the Guru. If you don't come to me because you don't want to surrender the problem that you have, then this problem becomes more complex. This burden occurs when you haven't given your attention to a problem within the first 24 hours that you have it. That is when a problem is solvable. As soon as you wait longer than 24 hours, the problem starts to solidify. And it's increasing in its hardness. It'll be more difficult to melt, more difficult to process. Once you have allowed one day to pass without resolution, then because I have the mantle of Guru, I must carry that non-resolution, else reject you as a Chela. That's my choice. To carry your non-resolution when I know that you have non-resolution but you're not telling me, I still carry it. I have two choices. To carry your non-resolution or to reject you as a Chela. Well, I don't want to reject you as a Chela at all, ever. I don't want to ever have to do that. So rather than do that, I will take your substance upon me. But I can tell you, the time is coming when I can carry very, very little of your substance because I have to do world service. That's where I'm supposed to be, world service. Your world service is in your own world and the planet also. Each and every non-resolution in your life creates a greater weight on the mantle of the messenger and the Guru. That's a fact because we're all tied together. Your problem affects everyone in this room. So trust, it all comes down to this. Do you trust the Guru? If you don't, you might as well not be here. Trust is not merely a word, it is a way of life. Trust in the Guru is difficult for Westerners, but it is the foundation of the Guru-Chela relationship. If we place our implicit trust in God, in the Guru, we know that through that faith he will give to us what we need, even if the Guru takes on a coloration of a given personality. When you trust the path of the Lord Sanat Kumara and the mighty lineage who sponsors us, you rejoice in the chastening fire. If you cannot trust that path and that lineage, you must get to work with the ruby ray and bind your own dweller, and bind that dweller daily or hourly. You have to trounce your dweller. You must implore the intercession of God until you have purged yourself of the cause-effect record and memory of times in this life and many lifetimes where people have failed you. Humans will fail you, but God will never fail you. You need to get past that point of pride that says, I cannot trust, just because someone once deceived you. Trust leads to the Chela's surrender to the chastening fire. Trust leads to the Chela's surrender to the chastening fire. Chelas who accept the chastening of the Guru in the right spirit do not condemn me. Those who do not take the chastening do condemn me. They may not condemn me to my face, but they do condemn me, whether in their hearts, their souls, or talking to others. I feel that. I understand that people have condemnation, and sometimes it comes upon me. But I think we should grow up and not condemn anyone anywhere in the world, but call for people's enlightenment. It is true that the Lord loves those whom he chastens. It is with the fire of divine love that I chasten you. Chastening is never condemnation. It is instead the gift of my heart to your heart, so that you may make it all the way home. And that's my goal for all of you. The pain of chastening brings the bliss of redemption. We remember the words from chapter 12 of Daniel. And many of them that sleep in the dust on the earth shall awaken, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. May all of my Chelas awaken to everlasting life. I have brought to you these teachings because I have felt that most people do not understand this teaching. And I think if we continue to talk about it, not necessarily a full session every week, but that we talk about elements of this. It is written in Scripture that without faith, it is impossible to please God. I find that to be the summary of everything we have said this evening. If you do not have faith, then who has taken your faith from you? Has it been fallen angels? Has it been those bad mothers and those bad fathers or those bad teachers? Without faith, it is impossible to please God. Impossible. It is impossible to please God if you do not have faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. We accept them before we see them, and our faith carries us. Write it down. Without faith, it is impossible to please God. You can't please God by sending up prayers of human reasoning. Without faith, it is impossible to please God. I would like to give an opportunity to any of you to speak at the lectern at this time.